What is up, Thrive fam? CJ Finley here again with another episode of the Thrive on Life podcast. I'm here with my good friend Scott Simmons and my little baby boy Aiden, who I am doing a trial right now with. I am feeding him while we're podcasting. We scheduled the podcast today, and I figured he would either be sleeping or chilling. But of course, right when we go to press record, little man is hungry. But we're going to get right into it. Today's topic of conversation is content production. And if you're somebody that's thought about creating content or somebody that's been creating content for a long time now, Scott is one of the guys out there to look up to, and he's got a lot to teach. And that's what we're going to go into here today. So if somebody's looking to get started in their creative or content creation journey, where should they start first in your eyes?
Oh man, I think it's very open-ended because there's the argument that people say you can use your phone, that you need a camera, that you need. Some people say you need certain things to create content. Some people say you don't, right? And I'm more the advocate of the camera, but it all depends on what you're trying to create and why you need it. For example, you don't need a camera. Like we film videos for you on your phone all the time, and they seem sometimes do better than a camera. So it just totally depends on, I guess, where it's being delivered and how you want to present yourself. So getting started is all about exactly that, in my opinion. Getting started. I didn't start. I think we talked about this in a previous podcast. I still have a YouTube video, my very first YouTube video that I haven't published because I was too afraid to publish it because I didn't feel like I could commit or feel like it was good enough or whatever. And that would be one regret I have is I just didn't start sooner. So as you're looking to create more content, just start creating content and get used to the fact that you're creating it. That's the first step always, in my opinion, because you're going to look back and wish you still did it.
So would you say like the only thing that you need is one tool to create with in the beginning?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, if it's your phone and it's all you have, then start creating with your phone and figuring it out and then learning things along the way. And then once you can afford a camera, if you want to go that route or get into lighting or get into better audio and that kind of stuff, you can elevate the content for sure. But any tool you have, even if it's like, maybe if it's not 480p or 720p at this point, I guess Instagram might look kind of like garbage. I think Aiden agrees. You're doing well. You're doing good.
Yeah, we're trying here.
I like it.
So run me through, like I have a phone and I go to create some content. I think what a lot of people don't understand is the difference between documentation and content creation. And you have a lot of other creators out there who will say, just document your life to begin with. What is your thoughts on that statement?
Document versus create?
Yeah.
I think it goes back to the goal. Like the argument for me, you okay, bud?
We might have to just.
It's okay.
We tried. All right, we're back. Had to feed Aiden. Just like I thought. It didn't last. We had to make him the priority for a second there during the middle of the day. What I've learned is he gets really feisty when he's eating. Yeah, he's smiling at me right now. Hey, bud. So where were we? We were talking about the documentation versus creative process and how in the beginning of your journey, a lot of people are probably going to hear that you should be documenting what you're doing. But most people that I've heard will be like, well, document what? What the hell should I be documenting in your life? So that's where I'd love to go down kind of the rabbit hole of like, how do you create content from almost what it seems like nothing?
And I think it's always subjective because in the beginning, I didn't really have anything to create content about besides what I was learning. So I could learn something on YouTube or learn something in a blog or an article, and then I would just try to I would learn it my way, and then I would try to represent it and recreate it in my own way that comes from my voice. And I always felt like that was kind of, I don't want to say cheating, but I didn't feel like it was necessarily me. I don't think you did either.
Man, he is so talkative right now.
He is, dude. He's going off.
This is awesome.
I like it.
I think he wants to be on the podcast with us.
I think he does. We need to give him a microphone. I agree with that statement because I didn't know what to make either, to be honest. Totally had no idea. And I feel like it was really hard to come up with content, so much so that it made me not produce any content.
Hey.
So I would I didn't feel like I knew what to document.
Overwhelm. Creates stagnation.
So I think when you're getting started, you need to pick a thing that you're interested. I don't think people need to overcomplicate it as much as I did. I think you need to pick a thing. Like, let's say we talk about this a lot. Like a lot of your friends are into running. or I'm into cameras. So pick a thing that you like and then just document or create content around the thing. So if you go run some miles for running, or if you go to the gym and work out, film your workout or whatever, and then create a little bit of value. Because now versus back then, it was more about creating anything. And I think value is still important. But I think people have become so privy and understand how much content is out there that now if it's not valuable to them, they're just going to skip it. So you need to document the information that you're doing and then make it valuable for the person watching it so they can take something from it, because everybody wants something, I guess. Does that
Why
answer the
should I create
question?
content?
It depends what you want. I mean, if you want an opportunity to make money, you can create content for that, right? If you want to create a community and share information and connect with people that you don't feel like you have a connection with, you can create content for that. You can do both. I think it really just depends what you want. I think the power of content is so strong in the sense that it connects us all in a way. I've told you this before. I got friends on Twitter that I've never met before and that I'm in a text group with, and they're amazing people, and we support each other and back each other, and we bullshit with each other. It's a lot of fun. And I've never seen them in person. It's purely from Twitter. So I don't make any money off of those guys. I'm not trying to. I want to be friends with them because I like them and I connect with them.
When you started, why did you create content specifically?
I saw it as an opportunity to make money as a photographer. So I was interested in the business of photography or video. And I remember our first video we ever made, and it was filming a workout at a park here in Austin. And that led me to getting some Instagram DMs asking how much I charge. And I thought, oh, I can leave my job and make money doing this thing I like and have more fun with. That's why I started. Why I kept doing it was because it connected me with more people and created more opportunity for me to create a business and a living for what I want to do.
What was your process in improving? So you started, you had a camera and you have a phone.
Yeah.
I think what separates a lot of people out there is those who want to be great are constantly iterating really quickly. So they're figuring out different processes, different tools, different people to hang around that can level them up much quicker. What did that look like for you?
I really just started using YouTube as a resource to learn. And then from there, I started to pay attention to the YouTubers that I found were interesting, that I got value from. And
Who were some of those YouTubers?
some of them were like, the main one is Peter McKinnon. He's really popular, among a lot of the photographers and the YouTubers in the photography space. Another guy's name is Chris Howe. Another's Matty Hapoya. Coincidentally, they're all from Canada, but they were in a circle together. So what you saw was a community of guys who were into photography and video, and they're making businesses by Peter was shooting product photography, Matty Hapoya was shooting films for commercials, and Chris Howe, I think, did something for, I think it was Mercedes. So you saw not only did they make content and they made friendships out of that content, but then they made businesses for themselves out of that content. And that's what unlocked the door for me.
Lot to unpack.
Yeah, I know.
Where do I want to go to be as valuable as possible to that person that is creating content? So you mentioned Peter McKinnon and watching his content online. How did you steer clear of remaining Scott Simmons?
What do you mean?
I think a lot of people, when they look at other content, two things happens. They either try to mimic somebody else's content to follow a trend, or they get overwhelmed by comparison and then they do nothing. Where did you fall when you were starting your journey?
I think it was a little bit of both. I think at first it was overwhelming because I was learning, and it was a lot of so much the research phase that I did so much digging that I never produced anything. And then I realized I feel like I can do all this stuff, and I do all this stuff for clients, but I'm not showing it to anybody. So I didn't actually actively produce content for myself. And then the other component was I definitely started to emulate other people, but I think that's a good way to start. That's a really common conversation among content creators right now, is like, you shouldn't copy people because there's so much content, and copying looks kind of shady or like just ingenuine. But you can take inspiration from the people and use a little bit of the style. So for example, Peter McKinnon has a series that he used to do called 2 Minute Tuesdays. He'd give you one tip for 2 minutes long, and the joke was it was never 2 minutes because it was always too long. And so if I just made a 2 Minute Tuesday, that's a direct rip-off. But what can I take from that? I can take the concept of teaching somebody in a short period of time and putting it on Instagram. So I took that in a way of how can I package a short piece of educational content in a short time and give it to somebody, but don't call it 2-Minute Tuesday because that would be a ripoff and people would know. I think you have to copy, quote unquote, copy a little bit in order to start developing who you are and your voice and the things you do. Otherwise, you're just never going to do anything.
Yeah. So it sounds like to get to that next level, it's really like creating templates. So when I think of like copying, I think of we're all just like really we're just all copying and compounding on ideas that are already out there. But the difference is like if I create a PowerPoint deck and you just do word for word, that's copying. But if I create a template for a deck that has like the structure of like, here's what slide 1 should look like, here's what slide 2, and then you use your own photos and your own copy, but the same format for those different slides, it sounds like that's what you were
It's kind of like they told us not to plagiarize in school. It's like you're plagiarizing other people's creative. You don't want to do that. So yeah, I would say a template is a great way to look at it. And then once you have a little template and then you have to start producing, because you're never going to start figuring out what you like and you don't like. I think the biggest thing for me was in the beginning, I shared a lot of the stuff that I did, like the work I did. So I shared a real estate video or a event video or whatever, but I didn't really like sharing that because it didn't connect me to anybody. It just looked like I was trying to sell my service, which is nothing wrong with that, but that's not what I wanted. So I started putting myself in front of the camera more, talking about those things. Like I just put out a short video on how to take they're called rollers, but moving car photos and have the blur and have the car in focus and stuff like that. I've never done it before in my life. But if I was a car photographer or an automotive photographer and only shared that, that's what I'd be known for versus teaching you how to do it as a skill to maybe go pitch that to somebody like a car company.
What do you wish you knew then that you know now?
That's a hard question.
I'm throwing some fireballs today, dude.
That's a hard question, dude.
Just out here like rocking the baby right now.
Got you motivated. Yeah.
Just like
if for people who can't see what CJ's doing, he's using his foot to rock Aiden back and forth. He's just bouncing him. Honestly, I just wish I had the courage to start making stuff. That's pretty much it. I don't think anything else could have changed because I would learn things along the way. I don't think I would have known anything back then that I do now if I didn't start anyway. So I think the biggest hurdle I personally had to overcome was starting and getting over the fact that nobody's judging you really that much at all. And if they are, they're either going to say something or they're not going to say something. It doesn't really matter. But nobody really cares that much. But it's your job to make some people care so you can create a community and connect with those people. Because you'll make some pretty good friendships when you actually care about what you're making and the things that you're putting out. Like what you do too. Like we put out some pretty awesome content that to some people might say, if you don't get a lot of views, you might get a couple hundred, but that's kind of not the point. The point is the connection and the creation, the connection within the creation
and the memory.
So, and the memory. Yeah. So I think that's the thing I would wish I would have done or executed on earlier was just executing and learning as I go and sharing what I learn as I go rather than thinking I had to know everything and then coming out of the gate going, look how good of a photographer I am or content creator.
How has content made you a better human and a better entrepreneur?
A better human in the sense that I am able to express myself in a better way. I think I can communicate better, not only online, but interpersonally. And I think I've started to slowly uncover the purposes that what I want to do, who I want to be, and how I want to be represented. And I think it's also opened a lot of creativity in the sense of it just helps me share things in a different way. I don't know. I guess I might not answer that the best, but from an entrepreneurial standpoint, content is a skill, and that skill has taught me how to build a brand. I think that skill has totally taught me how to share a story, how to produce something that somebody can connect with, and that in turn, from a financial perspective, will buy something. And I think that's like, if you're trying to build a business, the whole goal is profit pretty much at the end of the day. So you're trying to generate revenue and generate income, and that revenue and income comes from creating content.
Love that. And to dig into that, before we even on this podcast today, we have on the whiteboard here kind of where I'm at and where we want to go with my brand. And if you're familiar with content funnels and top of funnel, mid funnel, and then the bottom of the funnel for us, it's like top of funnel, TikTok, IG, Shorts, Threads.
Mm-hmm.
Then we go into podcast, newsletter, YouTube, and then this like meaty section is where I'm lacking. I don't really have like a free course or something that I could, something valuable that I could give to my audience where they can learn from, educate themselves with, and then potentially want to buy from me, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's a high ticket course or high ticket coaching. That's what I'm lacking right now, because my real bottom funnel is clients and brand deals and businesses that I'm partnered in. And I have a bunch of those because of referrals and the network I have here in Austin, Texas. But what I'm really lacking is that like meaty section of somebody that sees my content and then clicks on the content and then goes through that funnel into something that they could invest in, which would be like a free course or some type of information that they could use for their own lives, and then decide whether they want to purchase um, something further from me. And the cool thing for you is that today you were showing me the sales of Uphill and how the content that y'all are creating for them and then converting into gear sales, fashion sales.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a direct funnel. Now, for people out there, I think they don't necessarily understand all the different ways that you could make money from content. So
Mm-hmm.
especially when I was telling people that I was quitting my engineering job to go more into marketing, social media,
Yeah.
brand, fitness, they didn't really understand it, but I saw limitless potential in this field. So describe to the audience some of the ways that you've made money that isn't just like, hey, I'm going to pay you $200 to shoot this one photo
Like
or a
take a
video.
photo.
Yeah.
Obviously the obvious one is that take the photo or video. You can use content in a ton of different ways. For me personally, I have had people reach out who want some like consulting, if you will. It's like a one-time phone call to talk about how to use a camera for somebody who doesn't know how to use a camera. So let's call it camera coaching. I don't know. Or a brand might reach out to me and ask me for consulting in the sense of, hey, what kind of content do you think we should produce that would help us create a community, build an ambassador program, or sell more products, sell more supplements. That's what I was in Florida for. So I mean, you can do a lot of the things with content from my perspective. And then, like CJ said, we sell clothes directly because of the content I produce on my own, the free content I give out on my YouTube or my Instagram page, because it connects. It literally creates a connection between me and other creators because they learn something from me and they feel like they want to pay it back and pay it forward. So they buy a hat.
How
I
much
don't know.
money did you make off? I'm going to actually rephrase this. How much money
Okay.
did you make Amazon from your one YouTube video?
Okay, so for context, I made a YouTube video about a desk video, and now I make Amazon affiliate sales beyond that video now. But that video has almost 200,000 views as of today on YouTube, and it's generated me personally $1,700 in income. And I don't know the conversion; I'd have to go look at it, but that's like 50 grand on Amazon.
Yeah, I think the last time you showed me it was like mid 40s.
I sold $26,000 of a laptop stand. I didn't make that much. I sold it for them on Amazon. I
But it
probably made
shows
like
you that
$700.
limitless potential. Like,
Yeah. So think
you're
about if you
doing
had
that while you're sleeping. You made the video and then it sits
correct.
there forever, and then like
Yeah.
money
So
can
think
be
about
made
this.
by
If
your
you
sleeping.
make iPhone cases, okay? If like you make custom iPhone cases that you buy from overseas or whatever, and you are a tech YouTuber who reviews iPhones and Androids, and you make a video about an iPhone, and every single one of your videos you plug your case, that means you could have sold $26,000 in sales on iPhone cases. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
And
an amazing way to make
yeah.
money. Like, are you
And
kidding
going
me?
back to the documentation thread, like a lot of the YouTube videos that we've created for me are just documenting my everyday life. I sit in front of my red light every single day. I
Yep.
post a story on my red light in front of my red
Yeah.
light with a little quote every single day. And I've sold $2,000 worth of red lights
Mm-hmm.
without even trying.
Is it the commission you've
Yeah,
earned?
commission. So it's
Okay. So yeah.
2,000. I think it's like 40 red lights. So that's, let's say they're all, let's just make it even. They're $1,000 a pop. I sold $40,000 of red lights
Yeah.
by just,
You sold some saunas.
yeah, I've sold $10,000 saunas just
Yeah.
by filming myself going in the sauna every day.
Yes.
So yeah,
Content is the money.
that's the byproduct though. That's
correct.
the thing.
The revenue and the income you can generate in content is endless. Savannah, my girlfriend, she makes content for fitness and sells online coaching and has an app that sells apps like programs. You can make it that way. I mean, you can make it. It's endless.
What do you see people doing wrong? If they want to monetize and build a brand, what are they doing that's wrong in your eyes?
I think that's a pretty loaded question. It depends on the person, but the first one, a lot of people copy each other. And I think that's fine to an extent, like you said earlier, but I think that if you don't have that this is an argument in the content world as a whole, but it's like niche versus no niche. And some guys are saying the niche of one. So like I would try to put myself in the hole of the niche of one. I'm a photographer, a videographer, a YouTuber who owns a clothing brand and who partners in other businesses. So not many do that, but so I would say copying for sure, and not having your own voice is direct way for a brand to go. I don't really care because you look just like this guy and I already got this guy. The other thing is not trying to monetize your content soon as you can. And I don't mean that in the sense of being a sellout. I want to tread on that lightly because I don't really talk about that very much. But you can monetize your content like via YouTube AdSense for sure once you get to the partner program or affiliate sales or whatever. So on the flip side of that, why I want to be careful is because you don't want to just be a salesperson for your content. You don't want to look like that because then nobody's going to want to connect with you because nobody cares. You need to give people a reason to care.
Yeah, it's the age old. I mean, I have it written up there. Like information is free, implementation is money. So instead
Yeah,
of trying to sell your information, which I think a lot of
yeah,
people do, they try to package up their information to sell the implementation of whatever it is. So like in your case, like the implementation or the product is the gear, the
hmm
fitness stuff, right? I mean,
okay, so
so but you're selling the information for that product for free.
yeah,
You're putting it up there. You're taking the time to shoot and make it look
yeah,
attractive and attract
yeah.
a certain customer, and that customer enjoys the content that you're putting out.
Another example, I made 2 YouTube videos on like process and systemizing things, and I sell a Notion template. It's $50, I think, and I have 2 YouTube videos on this topic, and it links to the Notion template. Now I don't make a bunch of
But what
money
does
off
that
of that.
Notion template help people implement?
So the 2 YouTube videos are around creating systems and optimizing yourself as a content creator, and the product is a template that helps you create content more consistently, keep more accountable, manage your clients, and all that kind of stuff. It's almost like a little dashboard. But what I struggled with personally is keeping myself accountable and having a system and with my own content. I can produce content for you or clients or anything like that on the dot, but I always struggle with taking myself a little more seriously. So that system, I was like, this has helped me, and I've sold it, and it helps other people too, other content creators too. So you can it's not I didn't just put it out there and go, "Hey, here's the thing I have." I'm not gonna sell anything. So, but what did I teach you and help you with that might, as a byproduct, help you buy that digital product or download that Notion template? Because I taught you that this is what some people are doing, and for sure, these are what the big guys are doing at the 100,000 sub plus level. Is they're organizing, systemizing, and they have like a plan. They treat it like a job. So I needed to start treating it like a job because that helped me. I've bought templates before too because of that same reason.
This goes into a super hot topic. As soon as you do start monetizing your content, if you want to look at it like a career path, you have to
Yeah.
treat it like a job.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about treating your content like a job on a daily basis, what does that look like compared to just a hobbyist who's creating content?
I want to bring up a quote because you and I have talked about this before. His name is Roberto Blake. He is a YouTuber who teaches YouTubers how to be YouTubers. He's great, and him and I connect on Twitter a little like a month ago. And I answered one of his main. He asked a question like, "What are you struggling with the most?" And I said, "Consistency." And he goes, "If this was your job and you told your boss that you couldn't move forward on your work because you weren't able to be consistent, would you have your job or not?" And the answer would be they would fire you. Like, I can't, you're not a good employee. And he goes, so why are you doing that to yourself? That was the point. And I thought about that a lot. And that is exactly why I created the Notion template, to be honest, is because of that comment. Um, I it just, if you don't, if you don't have a system in place, like you said, a hobbyist, we like to say, you want to play entrepreneur, you want to be entrepreneur. Um, if you don't have a true system in place, you don't hold yourself accountable, and you aren't treating yourself or your system like a job that pays you what you want, how can you expect it to pay you what you want? How can you expect, if you want to make 6 figures as a content creator, how can you expect to not work like you need to make six figures? In fact, you're going to have to work more than you would at a job that might give you six figures because all those systems and stuff are already in place at a big company. Let's say Tesla or something. Those are already there. Versus you have to create them from nothing. So you're going to have to work twice as hard to get there. But if you don't act like it, you're never going to get there. That's what I think, at least. What do you think?
I think you're spot on. I think it goes into my next question, which is it's easier said than done.
Yes.
So what are some things in the moment that you think of, or books you've read, or people that you look up to that help you stay like almost like in a bowling alley, like you have bumpers in a lane.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, I want to stay in this lane and make sure that I'm showing up each and every day. So how are you handling that today versus in the past where you were kind of showing up like a hobbyist outside of the Notion template, obviously?
Yeah. I mean, people like yourself, honestly, you and I think you just need to surround yourself with people who talk about this every day. I think that's the first piece.
Environment.
Your environment, like me and you text almost every day about all this shit every day. And then you'll send me a YouTube video. Like today you sent me a video on Alex Hormozy talking about brand. And then I might send you a YouTube video. It's always on our mind. So as long as you're thinking about it all the time, that's step one, what I would say is like, you need to be surrounded by people who are doing it. I said
You
earlier.
have to have an obsession with 1% better.
Yeah, correct. That's a huge component too. And I'm talking about this with my buddy Angel, who owns a protein cookie company. Is like, he was really upset. We doubled his sales last drop. He drops every week. And we doubled his sales. And he was like, I wanted to sell out. I was like, you doubled your sales. What are you sad about right now? And
It's
I'm
a
like,
losing mindset. Yeah.
Correct. 1% better every single week. And because you drop every week.
It's a marathon.
Yeah. If you want a long haul, like if you want to sell it for whatever in the future. But I would say the environment is huge. I would say just having people kind of not beat around the bush when giving you advice. I got a buddy, the
directness, baby.
Yeah, the Twitter group. This stung me so hard. The Twitter friend group I mentioned earlier, we're all in a group chat, and I remember one of my buddies, Johnny. He reached out to me and he said that he goes, "When's your next video coming out?" I'm like, "Man, I'm so busy. Like, whatever." He goes, "Do it. You have to do it." He goes, If you're not doing it, it's a waste of talent." And I'm like, "Damn." And that guy has 100,000 on Instagram and 30,000 YouTube subs. That's like where I would want to get to. And I just think like that guy, if he told me that, and he works a full-time, he's the creative director of Ghost Energy. So he's a full-time job, 50 hours a week. And then he's still doing all this stuff on the side for himself. That if you don't look at that and you want to be where he's at.
What's the question I asked you?
What do you mean?
Do you want it bad enough?
Do you want it bad enough? Johnny, this guy wants it bad enough, clearly, because he is working all the fucking time.
I mean, like a good example, I've seen it with you. I've seen it with me is like, do you want it bad enough? Like old me would skip this conversation altogether. It would have been like, Aiden, I have to watch Aiden today. No, I don't have to watch him. I get to. This is like, he is my pride and joy.
That language, you always tell me that. This is my language.
I get to watch him. He is my first priority. My second priority is I have these other things that I do have on my checklist that I want to hammer out, and they're able to be flexible. So old me would just be like, you know what? Like he's kind of fussy. I got to feed him, the yada, yada. I'm just going to push it. But new me is just like, you know what? Fuck it. It's got to go out. It's going to be 80%. And it's going to be kind of like to the point of to get to that next level of sales of like you're doubling your sales or tripling your sales and you're still not happy because you wanted to sell out. Well, for me, I have this vision of like we would have this perfect podcast versus, you know what? It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be done. And then we're going to move to the next one. And I'm going to ask myself, how do I improve this next conversation with Scott? And then the next conversation after that. And then it's each time is just one more rep to fine tune, and lowering that expectation, I think, is something that's very hard for people because when they first get into something, it's very high expectations. They're comparing themselves to other people out there. And at the end of the day, their ego is hurt because they don't necessarily know what they're doing. And we haven't been taught growing up to be like, I don't know what I'm doing and I'm okay with that. Versus I think that's another thing that we discuss is how do we go into things and buy experts, go into different things with the mindset of like, I don't need to know everything. I don't need to do everything. I don't even want to know everything. That's because that's our issue is like, we want to know, we're like obsessive versus really just being like, I don't want to know it all. And here's where I want to stick. And that's where I would love to wrap up this conversation of like, What is Scott working on today in terms of content, and where are you kind of funneling your energy?
Okay. Before you answer that, I want to point out this 80/20 thing because it's a huge thing to talk about. Um, there's a new show on Netflix. It's like a movie, and it's about this new telescope, the Webb something telescope. I don't know. I was falling asleep when I was watching it. But
Is it that boring, or
not
is it
because of
like
the show, is because I told you we go to sleep with the TV on. So it was gas from the day. But the lead like scientist on this project talks about 80/20, and I guess I don't know the term. It's like I think it's failure points or something like that. This telescope it's supposed to be sent out to space, and it's supposed to see further than any telescope has ever seen. And it had like the failure points on on one of the Mars missions was like 20. This has 400 or something like that. So it's crazy. So if one of those things fails, the whole thing is over. And this guy has that level of stress, and he's still talking 80/20. He goes 80/20. I need to get 80% there with all the information I have, and I can only make a decision because I can't not make a decision. And I thought that was really cool to hear a scientist of that caliber have that same mindset. Anyway, so to answer your question, what am I doing today with my content? Is that what it was?
yeah, like where's your energy flowing today? Because you know all this stuff, you know all these
Yeah.
people, you have all these opportunities, but where are you channeling that energy?
So it's spread out across a lot of things, which this is something that I need to improve on, is narrowing my focus. But I think right now it's okay. I think you have to be okay with some of those things. I think a long time ago we talked about what balls can you drop? What do you have to keep holding on to? So right now it's all about YouTube.
Yeah, you like hold up, I gotta say this. Like
What?
it's okay to be juggling a lot of balls. You just have to know which ones are glass and which ones are rubber.
That's a good way to look at it. Yeah.
In any given
Um,
moment. You just have
any given
because
moment.
if
Yeah.
if a emergency happens and you got to drop something, you don't want to drop the glass ones.
Yeah. So the things I'm working on right now actively is Uphill Battle, the clothing brand that we're talking about that just had a new drop, and we are in a point now where we were sampling a lot of things and we have more consistency, the ability to have more consistent output. That's number one. That's not necessarily in order, but another one would be YouTube and content creation for myself because I want to do what I preach. And building Thrive is a big one too. CJ has me, in the back end, kind of helping him systemize this whole thing and create the content and the funnels. And then I also help with Savannah, and that tension is there. But that's one of the balls that's on the bottom right now because she can handle it on her own. She's doing a good job. And then I just took equity in that protein cookie company, so we're trying to play with that too. I would say it's just a lot of randomness.
So when am I gonna get some of these cookies? Are any of them gluten free?
No,
Damn.
so you won't eat them.
Okay.
That's the problem. I know I have you're too healthy for all this stuff. But
I mean, a lot of gluten free shit is like the worst for your health.
know.
But it's had to ask. I love cookies.
My main focus 100% is content output because nothing moves for me without content output. I think like whether it's YouTube, whether it's Instagram, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Threads, whether it's TikTok. I don't use TikTok very much,
but
it's just
here's
output.
where the rebuttal comes. You want more output. Look at what you're inputting. Change your inputs.
Yeah.
So for people out there, like what I mean by that is a podcast episode, right? That's one episode of us shooting. It's been 33 minutes so far.
Yeah.
How many clips can I make from this?
Oh, a ton.
Probably like 5 to 10.
Yeah.
So I did 33 minutes to get 5 to 10 clips. I'm changing my input there. With the input is the podcast versus sitting in a room being like, what could I produce? And then like not really understanding what to do there. So love this conversation. We're going to be bringing Scott on the show a little bit more frequently, probably like every other month. Now, one of the goals that I have with Thrive, or if you've listened to my previous episodes, I've been talking about pivoting it a little bit and bringing friends and content creators and people that I work with frequently on to be a little bit more valuable. We're still going to have new guests every week, but I'm probably going to be ramping up to 3 episodes a week where we're dropping value-driven episodes like this one. If you have any questions when it comes to content, please reach out to Scott. Where can they reach you at?
Scott Simmons on any social. It's SCOTTSIMNZ.
Hell yeah.
Easiest way to look at it.
And it's the same name for your YouTube.
Everything.
Dope. Go check out his YouTube channel. The best thing that you can do for me is to give us that 5-star rating and review and share this episode with somebody that you think this could be useful for. That's what we're all about here at Thrive on Life is strive together, thrive together. This is CJ Finley with the Thrive on Life podcast. I'll talk to you guys soon. Thrive on.